Okay, so we've got all the base colors down, a little bit of detail in the petals. Again, I apologize for somehow I didn't record that little end of our little bee, but we're gonna move on. I think I wanna start right at the top with his little wing. And to me, it looks like kind of a mauve. I'm gonna start, I think, with magenta because we've used it in other places. And this does have a mauve-y look. In fact, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just add some green to it. That could make a, that's gonna be a little too on the black side. So I don't want that. Let's try this again. A little bit of green. And how about we try the rose? Almost like the dirty color we used for the petal, but this is more on the brown side. I think that'll work. Let's get rid of the magenta and green. So this is just Hooker's Green and Quin Rose. And I want to get that top I'm going to go directly because I don't have it drawn. So I'm just really looking. I want to be really careful here because I want these little fuzzies. These little fuzzy edges on the bee, at least be suggested. Okay, now I'm just gonna dip this in water. I'm not cleaning it off, so there's still paint on it, but I want to drag it out. And I'm sort of just trying to get the shape. Again, this is a tiny piece. All I'm really doing is suggesting it. While I'm here, might as well work on the other one. This one, I'm going to get the base shapes with my black mixture. Again, this is Perlene Maroon with Phthalo Blue. Sometimes I pull it out and it's on the blue side, sometimes it's on the red side, sometimes it's just perfect, like this. So, make sure you can see that. Also, I'm gonna just put a little dot of water here to get it a little more watery. Remember, I can always darken it. And just like the legs, I'm gonna pop in a little of this mauve-y tone. And let's see if we can. And I'm holding this up. I don't know why I'm doing that. Let's set it down. Okay. I just want you to be able to see. And I think you can. So, okay. Let's do this thing. I'm trying to copy the shapes. I still think I want a little more water. I'm just gonna put a little drop there. Can always make it darker. This way I can establish my shapes, and if I don't get them quite right, it'll be easier to lift or change. I'm just going to, again, just getting some of these shapes, not worrying about every single one, just sort of a suggestion. This looks a little on the purpley side, which I think is pretty cool. So first, I'm gonna rinse my brush. I'm gonna dip it into this mauve-y brown mixture that I had. And I want to get a little bit of that in here and just kind of work it in here and there. And then what if I've used ultramarine blue. I was thinking peacock, but I've used ultramarine blue. So let's finish this wing with the ultramarine blue glaze. So these are all not quite dry. So I should be able to, they're not wet, but they're not quite dry. But I want to get a little bit of this blue on here. And then I'm going to again wet my brush, clean it off, and now just glaze over everything with water to kind of smear it around and suggest things. I like to go a little darker on the blue, so I'm getting some right out of the well. I don't spritz my paint. I just take my damp brush and start using it. So it's pretty, I guess, dense. Okay, sorry, I kind of bumped my table, so it might be looking a little strange. Now I'm just taking water, and I'm gonna just soften this in. See, it kind of pulled some of that mauve out. And then I think I wanna take a little yellow, because this looks a little yellower to me. And then maybe a little bit of that blue. That kind of neutralizes it. That's all I'm doing for now. Okay, we will come back to him. While I've got the black out, this is his eye below this sparkly highlight thing. So I do want to darken that. So I've got the black paint here. I might as well. Let's go back in here and get a little stronger. And I feel like this needs to come up higher. Not really sure if that's a highlight in his eye or what it is, but let's darken a little bit of this stuff. Just little touches, little touches. And this is really, like his little stripes and stuff are really lost, but I don't want to lose them all. So I'm just taking some this damp brush and just fuzzing out these edges. He should look very soft. So I'm gonna go back into the black with a little bit of this blue, and we'll see if this is. I'm just going to stop there for now. I'm turning this upside down because next thing I want to do is work. Oh, you know what? Since it's so close to the beat, let's work on these shapes in the green. Remember, I had to add a little green here that I missed. Not important. I could have just totally skipped it, but since I staged at this spot, I will do it. Okay. I want to do a little bit of negative painting in here to identify some of these curved leaves. Let's go to, I feel like going to this, I love my azo green and I haven't used it. Let's do some azo green with indigo, and the reason I'm doing this is because it's not granulating. You can see all the granulation and it may be very interesting, but I don't really want to continue using that granulating paint. So I'm making two puddles. One's up more on the green side, one's more on the blue-green side. And let's see what happens. I barely can see some of these lines, but the ones that I can see, I'm going to go ahead and establish. Again, they don't have to be perfect, but I do know that this is a shape, and so I just went from negative painting to positive because this leaf is darker than the stem. So I'd like to, I'm doing a little puddle of indigo. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but it's just indigo. And I'm dropping it in to darken this area while it is still wet. I did not wet these areas first. For one reason, I'm wanting to go darker. For another reason, well, mostly because I want to go darker. And water will dilute it. And it's a more yellow in the picture. Let's pick up a little more of this green gold, and I'll put that on top of here. Okay. And over here, I'm going to do the darker version of the green, just to get that little bit of dark in there. You know, this tip is really pointy, but it also has kind of a little curve on it, so I have to be careful. But, okay. Again, I'm just looking to establish the darkest shapes. Okay, so you see what I'm doing. I'm just working with those shapes and trying to get them established. Separated, just trying to get some separation. And I'm varying the colors a little bit. And sort of like we did with the stem, I think I want to get some Scarlet Lake out. And I'm basically just gonna put some there. So you may not be able to see it on the screen, but I want to be able to add it to my greens, and that'll kind of neutralize them a little bit and make them more interesting. Okay, this is all dry. I'm going to move on and work on this top portion. Let's see. I'm thinking I might want to at least turn it sideways. So you can see a few of my pencil lines. I didn't obviously draw all that, but I just want to suggest, you know, some of these little guys coming up. I'm going to use the green. I mixed a few things. I have my indigo ready also. And I think I'm going to just get some Windsor Yellow Deep in case I want to drop that in. I don't know if you can see that. Just so it's there. Okay, I'm gonna start with, just to get the shapes done, I'm using this lighter green. Looks like there's actually red in some areas, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I'm just gonna pop in some, just a little bit here and there to kind of separate, or at least kind of delineate my lines. And now once that's down, I can drop in color, and I am going to grab Scarlet Lake in case I need it, which I feel like I want it right here. So I'm just going to I think before I clean off my palette, I want to use some of this green and just glaze the bottom of this, kind of make that connection, dropping in the darker at the bottom. Just let it creep up. And then I'm taking my clean damp Kolinsky and I'm just gonna kind of soften it back in so it doesn't go any further. And then later on I'm gonna brighten that up with some yellows, and you can also give it a little dab here and there. And a little water doesn't hurt. If it pushes it back and makes a little bloom, that's okay. All right, I want to do one more thing. I just want to put a little yellow right here where it's really, because it's bugging me. Okay. Okay, so I've cleaned off my palette, and now I've got some magenta, Quin Coral, Quin Rose, and I went ahead and added some yellow. I might want to add it to the petals. So I want to start with this one since I really didn't do a whole lot with it. So I'm going to start by putting these darks on, but I'm going to start with rose and not, I'm trying to get straightened here. I'll start with rose to get this darker area. And then looks like this is actually kind of comes up like this. Okay, I'm gonna drop in the magenta into this. So I kind of have it where I want it. And while I'm here, I'm gonna darken this under this area. Might as well do this as well. And then this one, actually I want to soften it. So this is just a damp brush. I'm just kind of, maybe I'll even just dab it with a tissue. Got a little bit darker than I wanted. Okay. This will soften out later. So let's go back to the, the rose. And I'm looking to see where it starts and where it connects here. So it connects about here. And then it kind of curves from here. I think I will use two brushes, so I'm gonna hold that one that's got the paint, take this a damp one, and that way I can tickle it and soften it. So it's not so strong. I'm gonna let that sit a bit before I get that other color. I'm gonna move on to this. So it starts here, and this one ends about here. It's got a little curve to it. Okay. And then here. Rinsing this brush. I want it really settled, so okay. All right, these are still slightly wet. I'm going to grab the Quin Coral, and I dipped it in extra water so it's a little bit less strong, but let's start here. Make sure it's how I want it before I go further. It's got too much water on the brush, so I can just, if I don't, yeah, I'm touching the bottom end, not the tip, because I don't want to lose all the pigment. We'll just connect that in, and we'll do the same here. And I could have used water first, maybe should have, but I didn't want to completely lose what I've already done. So what I'll do is get this down and then I'll soften it with water. And I'm going back into that watery coral and getting a little color into this. And let's go into the rose and darken these just a little bit. Okay, magenta. Moving on to this. It's pretty dark. This is pretty dark. And I'm gonna use the rose and just gently. I don't want to lose those lines, but I don't want them to be hard lines either. So I'm just tickling. Now I've got a clean brush and I'm just softening the edge. I'm softening this, lifting it as I soften, just to get it a little bit lighter there. And then the same thing on this side. And this time I'm actually softening it across that, got a bit of a hard line. And thought I needed some contrast, so I'm popping in a little bit of blue, peacock blue, just to add variety and make it a little more purpley, kind of like the photo shows. I think I'll soften that later. I may do the same thing and just glaze that with that blue. And here I'm going to add a little bit too much. I wanted to peach this one up a little bit. So I threw in a little quin coral and I'm just gonna soften it in. I may do it over here too, just to distinguish these two petals a little bit more. Not too much. Just gonna go over this with water. I think I'll just go over all of this. And this is just gonna soften things up. Okay. I'm gonna I'm just gonna keep that sort of that dirty looking, I don't know. But I think I want to glaze some blue on this. So just a little bit of that peacock. Not too fuss with the paint that's underneath. Kind of like this. This, I might do a little lifting on. There'll be lifting happening to touch these up, but I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm gonna just